Remember the smell? That first deep breath pulling you through the screen door on a summer afternoon, flour dust hanging golden in the sunbeams, butter sighing in a hot skillet, and beneath it all, the warm, yeasty perfume of something promised. That was Grandma Ellie's kitchen. That was the scent of belonging. She wasn't fancy, my Grandma Ellie. Her domain was a 1950s time capsule on Maple Street. Faded gingham curtains, linoleum worn smooth by decades of determined feet, and a chrome-trimmed Kelvinator humming like a contented old cat. Her tools were simple: a wooden spoon darkened by 1,000 stirs, a chipped blue mixing bowl, a biscuit cutter that left tiny crescent moons in the dough. But in that ordinary kitchen she conjured magic. And she taught me, her wide-eyed grandson Michael, that magic wasn't just in the eating, it was in the making. The patience, the precise measure of love stirred into every step. Every Saturday morning I'd pedal my Schwinn over, the basket empty and hopeful. She'd greet me, wiping flour-dusted hands on her perpetually stained apron, a faded map of past culinary adventures. "Michael," she'd say, her voice like gravel smoothed by a river, "today we learned something that matters. Not just how to feed a belly, but how to nourish a soul." And she meant it. Her lessons weren't just recipes, they were parables whispered over simmering pots. Take her legendary beef stew. "Patience, Michael," she'd murmur, watching me fidget as the tough chunks of chuck roast browned agonizingly slow. "You rush the sear, you lose the soul of it. Life's like that stew. The tough bits, they need time and heat to become tender, to become flavor." As the carrots and potatoes tumbled in, she'd add softer, and the sweetness, that comes later, when you least expect it. There was a secret though, a small thing I noticed young but tucked away like a precious stone. Grandma Ellie never wrote her recipes down. Not on cards, not in a book. They lived only in her hands, her eyes, her whispered instructions. And sometimes when she thought I was engrossed in peeling potatoes, I'd catch her slipping something else into the mix. Not an ingredient listed in any standard cookbook. A tiny folded square of thin, almost translucent paper, tucked deep into the stew pot just before the lid went on, or pressed into the center of the biscuit dough. It would vanish, consumed by the heat, leaving no trace but a faint, unfamiliar scent, like old roses and distant rain, that would bloom briefly and then disappear into the rich aromas of the food. I asked her once, maybe 10 years old, pointing at the biscuit dough, "Grandma, what was that little paper?" Her hands, usually so steady, stilled for a heartbeat. Her eyes, the color of storm clouds, flickered with something deep and unreadable. A shadow passed over her face, swift as a bird across the sun. Then she smiled, but it didn't quite reach those eyes. Just a bit of the old country magic, Michael. A pinch of remembrance helps the love rise higher. She ruffled my hair, turning back to the dough. "Now knead it gentle, like you're tucking a baby in. Feel the life in it." The mystery deepened with her apple pie. Well, that pie. Crisp lattice crust like spun gold, apples tender and spiced with secrets. She taught me to weave the lattice with infinite care. "See these strips, Michael?" she'd say, her fingers surprisingly deft. "Each one crosses another, holds it together. That's family. That's history. Sometimes the weave gets tangled, but the strength is in the connection." And just before the top crust went on, beneath the mound of sugared apples, another small folded paper would disappear. This time the scent was sharper, like cloves and dried earth. As I grew older, the lessons deepened, and so did the undercurrent of something unspoken. Her stories about the old country were vague, dreamlike. She'd speak of rolling green hills and a bustling village square, but names and places dissolved like sugar in tea. There was a sadness there, a hollowness behind the warmth, especially when she'd gaze out the kitchen window towards the setting sun. "Life takes unexpected turns, Michael," she'd sigh one autumn evening, the scent of cinnamon rolls warming the chill. "Paths fork in the woods we never planned to walk. But you carry your home inside you. You carry it in what you create, what you pass on. Her hand rested briefly on the worn recipe box on the shelf, a beautiful, intricately carved thing, strangely empty. "Someday," she whispered, more to herself than to me, "you'll understand the whole recipe." Grandma Ellie passed peacefully in her sleep the winter I turned 25. The little house on Maple Street felt cavernous, empty of her essence. We gathered, family and neighbors whose lives she touched with her food and her quiet strength. My mother handed me the carved wooden recipe box. "She wanted you to have this, Michael," said. "The real treasure wasn't written down, but you'd know where to look." The box was empty. Just the faint, lingering scent of flower and that elusive hint of old roses and rain. Disappointment washed over me. Then, as I ran my fingers along the smooth, dark wood inside, I felt it. Not a seam, but a slight give near the corner. A hidden compartment. My heart hammered against my ribs. With careful pressure, a tiny, perfectly fitted drawer slid open. Inside lay not recipe cards, but a small bundle of those same thin, translucent papers, each carefully folded, and a single, faded photograph. The photo showed a much younger Ellie, her storm cloud eyes wide with a mixture of terror and desperate hope, clutching the hand of a stern-faced woman in unfamiliar, rough-spun clothing. Behind them, not rolling green hills, but a landscape of stark, unforgiving beauty, mountains sharp as knives under a vast, cold sky. Siberia. The first twist hit me like a physical blow. My warm, flower-dusted Grandma Ellie wasn't from some quaint European village. She was a survivor, a refugee from Stalin's purges, smuggled out as a child. The vague sadness, the hollowness, it was the echo of a home erased, a family lost to the frozen gulags. The old country magic was the survival instinct forged in ice. Hands trembling, I unfolded the first paper. Not a recipe. Cyrillic script, faded but clear. I couldn't read it. Frustration warred with awe. What secrets did these fragile squares hold? Why bury them in stew and pie? I took them to Professor Abrams, the gentle, retired history teacher down the street, a man who'd shared many of Grandma's pies. His face paled as he deciphered the first one, slipped into the beef stew. "Remember the taste of Papa's courage in the lean times. Let it strengthen you." The next, from the biscuits, "Mama's laughter was the yeast that made our hearts rise. Keep it alive." Each hidden message was a whispered testament to the family she'd lost, a desperate act of remembrance. The spices she added weren't just flavor. They were sensory anchors to a past she couldn't speak of. The cloves and earth scent in the apple pie paper? Anya's favorite blossoms grew by the frozen stream. Never forget her song. She hadn't just been feeding us, she'd been communing with ghosts, weaving their memories into our very sustenance. The patience for the stew? It was the endurance of years spent hiding her truth. The weave of the pie crust? The fragile threads connecting her to a shattered lineage. Was profound, heartbreaking. A revelation of unimaginable strength hidden beneath gingham and flour. I felt I finally knew her. But Professor Abrams kept unfolding the delicate papers, his expression growing more puzzled, then deeply concerned. He reached the last one, smaller than the others, its script different, sharper, more angular. It wasn't Cyrillic, it was German. He translated slowly, his voice thick with disbelief. "To the child found beneath the linden tree near Vilnius Station, November 1944. Your true name is Miriam. We pray you find kindness." The world tilted. Siberia? Vilnius? Found beneath a tree? Miriam? The final twist wasn't just jaw-dropping. It shattered the very foundation of the story I thought I knew. Grandma Ellie wasn't just a refugee from Siberia. She wasn't even Ellie. She was Miriam. A Jewish child, likely orphaned or abandoned in the chaos of the Eastern Front, near a railway station notorious for deportations. Found not by her Siberian family, but by them. The stern-faced woman in the photo wasn't blood. She was the Siberian peasant woman who'd found a starving, nameless child in the snow-choked ruins of war-torn Lithuania and risked everything to claim her as her own, smuggling her east to the relative, brutal safety of the Siberian exile they already endured. The hidden papers weren't just messages to her lost Siberian family. They were messages from them. Messages of love and remembrance for a child who wasn't theirs by blood, but became theirs by an act of breathtaking courage and compassion. The pinch of remembrance, she added, wasn't just for her lost past. It was a sacred duty to honor the people who gave a nameless orphan a name, a history, a life, when her own had been erased. She carried their memories, their love, folded into the very food that became her love language to us. The recipes weren't heirlooms, they were vessels. Vessels carrying the echoes of two families lost to the maelstrom of war. One by genocide, one by exile, bound together by the fierce, saving love of strangers. So, the beef stew's patience? It was the endurance of the woman who found her. The biscuit's gentle rise? The unexpected grace that lifted a child from certain death. The pie's intricate weave? The impossible, beautiful tangle of two shattered histories bound into one unbreakable thread of survival and love. Grandma Ellie, Miriam, taught me more than cooking. She taught me that family isn't just the blood in your veins. It's the love you choose to nurture, the memories you honor, the strangers you embrace as your own. She taught me that the most profound recipes aren't written in ink, but etched in acts of courage, folded into moments of grace and passed down silently in the steam rising from a pot on a stove. She never spoke her deepest truth. Perhaps the weight was too great, the fear of the past too sharp. Or perhaps she understood that some ingredients are too potent to name aloud. They must be felt, simmered into the soul through shared warmth, through the alchemy of flour, fat, and time. Through the quiet magic of a kitchen where belonging was baked into every crumb, a silent testament to the family she lost, and the family that saved her, the family she then built with us. So, what's your secret ingredient? What memory simmers just beneath the surface of your favorite family dish? Share it below. Sometimes, the most ordinary spoon holds the most extraordinary story. And the greatest legacy is the love we fold into the dough again and again for those who come after. Pass it on.